let's say we want to utilize this provided store not in the app component, but in the counter component which I rendered there. That's this counter component in the components folder. We got more components there, we'll use them later. For the moment, it's the counter component that matters to us. Now that's the component you're seeing on the screen here when you're running your dev server. It shows us basically a container where we want to output the counter value. We got a toggle counter button for hiding or showing the counter. Now here I want to start by outputting the current counter. And for this, we need to get access to our Redux store and to the data in there. And we again do that with help of the React Redux library. So from React Redux, we again want to import something. And the something which we are importing is a React hook, a custom hook made by the React Redux team. The use selector hook. There also is a use store hook, which we could use as well, which gives us direct access to the store. But use selector is a bit more convenient to use because that allows us to then automatically select a part of our state managed by the store. So I will use selector here. Now, if we would be using a class-based component and not a functional component as we are here, and as we are in the majority of the course, then there also is a connect function, which we could use instead. This function can be used as a wrapper around our class component to connect that class component to the store. I'll come back to that later. For the moment, we'll focus on use selector. So here in this functional component, we can now get access to the data managed in our store by using use selector. We call this, and now we need to pass a function to use selector. A function which will be executed by React Redux, a function which then basically determines which piece of data we want to extract from our store. Of course, at the moment, we have a very simple state, just an object with a counter property. But in bigger applications, you will have more complex states with tons of different properties, maybe nested objects and arrays, and therefore being able to just get a slice, just a tiny part of that overall state object in an easy way is worth a lot. And that's what useSelector allows us to do. For this, we should pass a function to it, a function which will receive the state managed by Redux, and then we return the part of the state which we want to extract. So here, for example, state.counter. Again, this function will be executed for us by React Redux. It will then pass the Redux state, so the managed data, into this function when it executes it, and then basically executes this code to retrieve the part of the state which you need in this component. And then use selector, therefore overall, gives us that returned value. So we get a counter constant, which is the counter managed by Redux. Now the great thing is that when you use selector, React Redux will automatically set up a subscription to the Redux store for this component. So your component will be updated and will receive the latest counter automatically whenever that data changes in the Redux store. So it's then automatically reactive, and changes to the Redux store will cause this component function to be re-executed. So you always have the latest counter. That's why useSelector is a very useful hook and why it is the hook we use for getting data out of the store. If you ever would unmount this component, if it would be removed from the DOM for whatever reason, React Redux would also automatically clear the subscription for you. So it manages that subscription for you behind the scenes. Now that we got this counter, we can use it down there to output the counter value like this. And if we now save this, we therefore now see 0 here. And that's how we can get access to data managed by Redux. Of course, the question now is how we can change that data. How can we dispatch actions?